Being able to learn how to drive a manual car in a 40-year-old car was one of the craziest experience I've ever had. The first day, I was very, very unlucky to encounter one of my worst four things that happened to me in this car. So, before we get into that, I'm gonna hit you up with the worst cinematic video you've ever seen on the internet.
I'm a major, I'm a love that dies in. You're a stranger, and there's no point to pretend that you can't heal with me. Erase my memory. I'm a danger, gotta quit while I'm ahead. Disclaimer, an emotion left to run. I'm a danger, and there's no point to pretend that you can't heal with me. Erase my memory. And I feel so right when I disconnect from you. All the shame coming through. And I feel so right when I disconnect from you. All the shame coming through. It's finally catching up to you.
But first of all, let's start with the looks of this car. This car is very, very, very ugly. That is the number one thing. Because when I'm driving this car as a newbie, you're gonna be distracted by all of these kind of old techie kind of stuffs, and it's very hard to like know the stuff because every button is on a different place to what you usually see on the modern cars, and it's very, very, very hard like to master every single button and where it is. So that was the first caveat, because I can remember when the first day I was driving this car, for me to like find a way to switch on the headlights, I was struggling, like genuinely struggling, because the headlight was some kind of like a switch button that you normally use to on your socket or something like that. And that was very, very frustrating. And every single button, on this car is on a different place. Like, ah. And second of all, is the gearbox. It was one of the second thing I encountered when I was driving this car, because I normally watch Fast and the Furious movies, so I was just curious and so excited to like bang in the gears, and I forgot that this is a 40 years old car. So after I was completely delused by the gears and kept on banging the gears, the bolt, or what do they call Boris in English? I don't even know. So the bolt weared off and it came out, and the car only can only enter fifth gear. Believe me, that at that time that was my first day of driving a manual car, and I just had a little experience on how to even you know start the car without even stalling at first gear. But right now, the car could only enter the fifth gear, and I was so scared because I don't know what to do. So I had to like dump the throttle and use the clutch halfway and worked my way back home. And the third caveat that I had on my first day was the clutch. The clutch is very hard. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know what to say. This clutch is as hard as matching a rock to a quicksand, because it's very hard. And the first day, I was having issues with my leg because of the clutch, and that was a very, very wild and stupid experience that I had. And the other one that I had was this steering. The steering, or should I say, is it the steering pump or whatever, is sucked dry, and it's very hard. Like, if you hit on the throttle and it started getting up to speed, it's fine. But when you are somewhat slow or trying to like park, oh my god, you have to like go, and that was very, very frustrating. I'm not much of a bodybuilder, so for me to like be fighting with the steering was somewhat very, very tiring to my small muscles. So my overall experience with this car, I'm gonna tell you, to be honest, this car is very fun to drive because it's unpredictable. I cannot even I cannot even predict how this car is going to feel, but because of it gives that kind of, oh my god, because it gives that kind of vintage like retro vibe back into the 80s or 70s or 60s. I actually love it. Although it breaks a lot, like every 2 to 3 days. If you drive it, it breaks. It breaks a lot, and that is very, very frustrating. And to crown it all, this car, it's very fun to drive because it's somewhat old. It's not like the normal cars, it's somewhat different, and the gearbox is different. How you shift the gears, how the clutch feels, how the drivability, how the handler feels, it's so fucking different, and it's awesome. Like, when I'm driving it, it's stressful, but when you're home, like when you're back home and you get to drive another modern car, you feel the difference and you'll be like, ah, that kind of unpredictability. It's so exciting and fun because it builds up your curiosity and intention, your curiosity as to how it's going to behave when you do certain type of things. So the second time I drove a newly manual car, I was so stoked because everything was way easier. The clutch was somewhat soft. The gears were shifting so clicky, pachow, pachow, pachow. Unlike this one, that I have to like, that kind of shit. So, what I'm going to say on this car is that do not learn how to drive a manual on a 40-year-old car because it's so freaking hard. But when you learn how to, if you're a pro in terms of driving manual, then this baby is very good.